We've added a whole lot of things to Good Deals by KLGG such as bags, smart locks, audio gear, and more. Shop now and check out with Atomi and IOU pay 0% installment from 50 ringgit and get 10 ringgit off your first purchase with minimum 100 ringgit spent. Visit Good Deals by KLGG in the link below.
So when I first unboxed the 43-inch smart monitor from Samsung, my first impressions was like, whoa, this is really a big screen and it totally dwarfs my 34-inch ultra-wide curved monitor. But to be honest, once you sit in front of this monitor, you actually kind of feel that, well, it's big, but it is not too big at the same time. Because imagine when you sit on the middle and facing the monitor, it is actually a pretty good size if you want to do a lot of productivity work and have a lot of windows open. And it's really easy to reach to the corners of the screen as compared to a 50-inch or a 55-inch TV. And this is what I feel about having this monitor as my daily driver. Alright, so first of all, before we get into all the features of this monitor, let me talk a little bit about the hardware. Now on the front here, this is a 43-inch panel. It's a VA panel, by the way. It's not IPS, which could disappoint a little because you're paying really expensive for this. You're paying 2,700 ringgit for this screen, and we should be expecting something better. But knowing Samsung, you're not going to expect too much. All right. Now you can still notice a little bit of bezels right on the side, right over here, which I think it could be a little slimmer, but it's still there. It's still noticeable, but the thing is that I don't really find that to be too much of a trouble once I start using the monitor. Now the frame over here is plastic, and as you can see, the overall design looks like a typical Samsung TV. Now you already see that I'm holding this remote all the time because the only way to really operate this monitor or smart monitor properly is using this remote. And this remote is no ordinary remote because, as you have seen in our previous QN800A TV review, it uses the very same remote here that supports solar charging, and it charges over USB-C, and the buttons here is exactly the same one as well, right? But of course, being a smart monitor, you do need to have at least a physical button if your remote doesn't work, and there's one that's right underneath the Samsung button right over here, which isn't really noticeable, but it's right there. There's no LED indicator light on the front as well to tell whether the monitor is on or not, or if it is in standby. But here is the button. As you press right over here, it has a simple on-screen display menu that appears right over here, and you only get very limited buttons here, so you can just keep on pressing and pressing, and you want to select. The max that you can do is to go to source, but you can't get into the monitor settings because all these things are hidden within this settings menu of the Tizen operating system, which powers this TV. Now coming to the back of the monitor, you do realize that the back here is very slim and sleek, and there's no bulb coming out at all that holds all the power supply and so on, except for this monitor stand that you will have to fix it up if you intend to place it on the table. You get mounts over here, which you can pretty much use the standard TV brackets or mount a VESA mount onto these 4 holes right over here. And one thing that I'm really glad that Samsung has done is that it doesn't require a power brick to power the monitor. As you can see, it is powered by a 2-pin port right over here, so the power supply is already built right into this monitor, which is really impressive considering how slim this entire monitor is. Now, in terms of ports, so over here you get 2 HDMI ports, with one of them supporting ARC, which is pretty impressive for a smart monitor and a 42-inch monitor because not all monitors support the ARC protocol. So you also get 3 USB ports, which one of it is for service. I'm not sure if you can use that at all because I've never used the ports on the back during this entire month. But one thing I'm not very happy is that it is a USB 2.0 port. And you know what? It's such a waste that these USB ports can't be used as a USB hub for your PC, which I hope that could actually happen if Samsung decides to make another version of this monitor in the near future. One thing I'm glad is that it does come with a USB-C port that supports USB PD charging at 65 watts, which is why you can see that I'm actually connected to my MacBook Air right over here. So it charges and also extends the display of your MacBook. So it's something that's actually pretty great if you want to keep those cables really simple and managed. Now, speaking of cable management, this is one thing that I feel Samsung could have done better because it only comes with this rubber flap here that holds on to your cables, which is not really good. It doesn't secure it very well. This is something that I wish Samsung could have really improved on. I'll probably just put a hole right onto the middle of the monitor stand right over here so that cables can just go through to your PC and it doesn't get messy at all. To give you a perspective of how many windows that you can fit onto a 4K resolution monitor, this is what I've done right over here. So I think opening up to 6 apps is the most optimal condition if you want to do a lot of multitasking on your computer with a single screen. And one thing that you might ask is that why should I go for such a huge monitor instead of going for a 28-inch or 32-inch 4K monitor? Well, here's the thing. If you happen to go for a smaller size monitor, no doubt, text are sharper, everything is way sharper because of the smaller size and the pixel density, but you wouldn't feel as comfortable as looking at a 43-inch monitor with a 4K resolution. You will have to squint through your eyes to see really hard-end objects, or you really have to make the size bigger in order to view that content properly, which actually loses the intention of having a 4K resolution, because the more resolution you have, you're going to be able to see more things on your screen, right? Okay, so this is what you're seeing right now, and there's no display scaling at all. Everything is at 4K, and what I'm seeing here is that, of course, the size of the dock right over here feels very, very tiny, which is something that sometimes I find it a little hard to see, right? But then if you look at the windows right over here, the text looks fine. It looks big enough for me to view comfortably. I can see a lot of information if I happen to open multiple windows. And I've actually opened an Excel worksheet right over here to let you guys see on how far it actually reaches. So let me just maximize the window here. So it goes all the way to the BG row and up to column 220, if I'm not mistaken here, column 120. That's how far it can go if you happen to maximize the screen of an Excel spreadsheet. So if you're viewing a long spreadsheet, this could be a pretty good monitor for you guys. Imagine if you have such a big screen in your workstation or even in your room, you might want to treat this as a TV as well, because why not? It's a pretty huge screen and it's a 4K display, right? So the VA panel actually works pretty well. I would say that the colors look pretty accurate. It's not washed out at all. And I really love the viewing angles. It doesn't have any color shifts at all as far as I'm concerned. Now, getting over to the smart TV features, you just simply operate the monitor like a Samsung TV. So I have the remote here. So once I press on the home button here, this is where I get to access shortcuts to my apps. And if I want to download apps, I can go over to the App Store right over here to download apps like Spotify, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and a lot of other apps right over here. So the Tizen App Store is pretty fully featured. As you can see, there's a lot of apps that you can download here already. Even like Samsung's own gallery app is right over here. So whatever you find on your Samsung Smart TV is all available on this smart monitor over here, right? And to get over to the settings, now this is where it gets interesting, because like I mentioned earlier, the button right over here doesn't get you to the picture settings of the monitor, but instead you will have to use the remote control to go over to the settings right over here. So inside the settings page, you will find things that's really similar to a Samsung Smart TV if you happen to own one, like picture settings, sound, game, general, and yada yada yada. So one thing that's really good about the smart monitor is that if you intend to use it as a presentation screen, it supports Apple's Airplay 2 streaming. So if you happen to use an iOS device or a MacBook and you want to wirelessly mirror your screen over to the TV, it supports Airplay, and that's a really good thing if you use that frequently. Now, the speakers on this, it's not the best out there, but it sounds decent enough. But don't expect it to be as good as a TV speaker, because considering its slim profile, you really don't expect big sound from the pair of speakers that's in this monitor. But let me just quickly play a movie to show you guys how loud it can sound.
You cannot keep me locked away as the world burns.
Son, the truth is the world is ruled by corruption and greed.
We must do something.
Certainly. We are the first independent intelligence agency. Refined but brutal. Civilized but merciless.
Welcome to the club.
So overall, these are my quick thoughts and a review of the 43-inch Samsung Smart Monitor M7. It's a really nice screen that I enjoy using it every day, and I do not miss my 34-inch ultra-wide monitor. Now, of course, an ultra-wide monitor still has its benefits of seeing more stuff in a more horizontal way, but I prefer to have my windows laid like this, and the fact that I can actually watch my movies properly with a 16:9 aspect ratio. And one thing that I really appreciate is, of course, the apps that it provides right over here, as I can easily access my streaming apps, my music streaming apps, and video streaming apps right from this monitor, and it's really great. But one thing though, I would really recommend that you get an external speaker to go with it, because speaker really doesn't sound great. So that's pretty much for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Do give us a thumbs up if you like what you saw, and subscribe to our channel for more tech videos coming right up, and follow us on social media. I'm Warren, and I will see you guys in the next video.